Hey there, and welcome to a video a year in the making. That's right, I recorded this about a year ago and just left it on my camera and forgot and never edited it. So I'm working on it now, and while during editing I found that I think I didn't record all the footage that I wanted to, and I think maybe missing some capture footage, but I don't really feel like trying to go to my storage and get the system out and re-record stuff, and everything in the video should be mostly what I wanted to say about it, so without further ado, here's a video I recorded a year ago.
Hey there, and welcome to another video. Today I got something fun for you. I found this system here at a swap meet. I think it was like maybe 10 or 15 bucks. And anyway, this seems to be a AT&T system. It is a AT&T Intuity AUDIX system, which I think runs some type of Unix. I don't know if it's any similar to my other AT&T Unix system, but this one is actually a voicemail server. So I would assume like a business or something would have this and it would answer their calls and record voicemails that you could listen to later. This seems to just be a 486 system, but it does have some special cards in it. But I don't know what else we can do with it. It might be fun to see if we could install, I don't know, Doom on it or something and play some games on a voicemail server. That might be fun. So let's check it out.
Jen/Eric Computers, Jen/Eric Computers, looking at computer stuff, Hey everyone, it's Jen/Eric.
Okay, I was drawn to this system mostly because it says AT&T on it, and I just like interesting stuff like that. Like I have my other AT&T Unix PC, and now I have this, which also seems to be a Unix PC, though I'm going to assume that, at least on this, I probably can install another operating system onto it. I could probably put DOS on it, probably. If it has a hard drive, I'm probably just going to take an image of that hard drive and then use a new one to install a new OS on it, just in case there's anything interesting on the drive. So, behind this door seems to be the power button, or reset button. Okay, so there is a hard drive, there is a floppy drive, and this is... this seems to be a tape drive. I would assume that was for backups. Seems useful. Alright, so around to the side. On the side here is a keyboard and mouse port. These seem to just be standard PS2 ports. And then on the back... So swinging it around to the back, we have our power supply, a 9-pin serial port, a 25-pin serial port, which doesn't have every pin in it, but I guess not all of them are used anyway. Parallel port, it looks like we would have an external SCSI adapter. I wonder if there's a SCSI card inside this. We got two modems here. Interestingly, one is branded Lucent and one is branded AT&T, though they seem to be exactly the same. And then we have some type of video card. Don't know what any of these cards are, and don't even know how to open this, so we're going to try to open it up and see what's inside. Just to make sure there's no like battery damage or nothing wrong with it, and then I guess we'll try to power it up and see what it does. So I don't know how to open this thing. I guess I could look online and see if there's any sort of like guide of how to open it, but I'm not sure. Plus, let's just figure it out anyway. On the side here, don't know if you can see this, but there's a little guide here that says you can just kind of slide this top off. And I know this front panel comes off because it came off when I was trying to carry it around before, so let's see if I can remember how to get this front panel off. On the bottom seems to be a little... On the front panel seems to be a little button, so I might be able to get that off. So I managed to coax the front panel into coming off. Under the sliding door were two tabs that I had to press. That's why it wasn't coming off before. You need to press both of them. Then we can get a good look at the inside. But that, I mean, not really. You just kind of see behind the front panel. There's some lights, the power button, and whatnot. See, it says unlock on the side. I don't know if you can see that. Right here it says unlock. So it might be a way to just slide this cover off like it said. So that unlock thing, I think, is just to take like this front panel off, because I just gave the top a good push and it seems to have loosened up a bit. So I think this will come off now. It's starting to. Oh, there we go. And we're in. This is my first time opening up this system. I have not seen inside here before. So let's take a look around inside the system. Okay, inside the system is quite interesting. I see some RAM slots here. They're not populated. I don't know if the system has any built-in RAM or if the RAM was just taken out before this got sold. Interestingly, hopefully this will focus, the BIOS chip here says copyright Acer on it. So I guess Acer made this board. That's interesting. It does seem to be just a standard 486 system. This is a socket 3 Intel 486. So I guess we could replace this chip if we really wanted to. And this also gives me hope that I can install anything I want on here and not just the OS that is built in. Here we have those cards. There's 2 modems, and then behind it is a video card. I'll take them out so we can get a better look at them. All right, let's go ahead and take these cards out and have a look at them. Before when I said upgrade the system, I don't know. If this does actually support running just normal DOS, then it might be fun to throw in some other cards in here. Obviously, being a voicemail system, it's got modem cards in it, but it might be fun to put in an actual like Ethernet card. Also might be interesting to put in a sound card so we can actually play some games on it. All right, let's see what this video card is. The back says VGA board, and it's got a AT&T label on it. So I assume this was the card that came with the system. Spinning it around to the front, it seems to be a ATI Mach 32 VLB card. That's pretty interesting. And it has a, there we go, it's got a BIOS chip on it. It says Wonder VLB 1995. This might actually be a pretty decent video card. I don't know how well it can game, but it seems like it might actually be pretty capable of gaming. Now to take out the modems. They do, again, appear to be identical, other than, at least on the outside, they had different brandings on them. Take out one card here. This is a very large card here. Bunch of AT&T chips on it. The front of which is branded AT&T, and has looks like 2 phone jacks and 2 other ports on it, possibly audio ports. Yes, it says audio on it, so I don't know if that was for just like a normal sound card or just for listening to voicemails. I'm not exactly sure how these cards would be used. I'm going to assume the other one is identical. It is, except just like on the outside, it's branded differently. It's branded Lucent instead of AT&T. But otherwise, these two seem to be exactly the same, just 2 slightly different brandings on them. I don't know if these cards would work outside of this system. I don't know if there's anything special about this motherboard that would make these cards work or not work. I don't know if these cards would work in just like DOS, or if it only works in whatever OS is installed on these. I don't know if I'm going to try that. I might try to boot it up. I mean, I will try to boot it up with these cards and see what happens. Taking all those cards out, we can get another look at the motherboard here. Underneath all these wires here, we can see a Dallas clock chip. I'm going to go ahead and assume that the battery in this chip is dead, though when I was looking at it from a different angle, it looks like this chip is socketed. So if it is, I might be able to just pull this out, and I should have a replacement somewhere that has an external battery. Underneath it we have, or next to it rather, we have an Adaptec chip. Is this a SCSI controller? Does this board have onboard SCSI? I think so. I think this here is actually a SCSI connector and not a IDE connector. I can't see where that goes, but the hard drive might be SCSI, so that would be interesting if that was a SCSI hard drive. If I was going to replace the hard drive, I do have other SCSI drives, or I might just put in an IDE controller and use an IDE drive. I'll see. I don't know how the tape drive is connected. I would assume the tape drive is also connected via SCSI. That would make sense. Also, we can see next to the CPU are these chips. I would assume these are cache chips. There's some empty slots, so it looks like I could update or upgrade the cache on this system. This seems to be a 25 megahertz 486SX. Obviously, if we test the system, I'm going to have to put some RAM in it unless it has onboard RAM. I don't know if that's what these chips here are. Don't know. We'll have to explore the system. But other than the Dallas clock chip, which I assume is dead, this system looks like it's probably fine. Probably fine, assuming the power supply doesn't explode. I haven't looked at the power supply to see if it's proprietary or not. Looking over at the power supply connector, this seems to just be a standard AT power connector. So I'm going to assume that the power supply is not proprietary, and I could replace it if I needed to. This is the original AT&T power supply. Seems to be 200 watts. If all looks good, I will plug this in and see what happens. I might try to replace the power supply anyway, but if it works, then it worked. Okay, now for the fun part. Now we're gonna tear this whole thing down. I'm gonna take the board out so I can clean it, so I can clean the case. I'm gonna take the drives out so I could image the hard drive, just in case there's anything special on it. And then we're going to test this board, not in this case, not with this power supply, but on my test bench with a known working power supply. That's once I confirm that this is actually just an AT power supply, then I can use a known good power supply just to power the board up, make sure everything works, and then we'll put it back together and see what we can do with it after that. Alright, so I got the motherboard out, and all things considered, this case isn't really that dirty. I mean, there's some dust all over here. It needs to be cleaned out, but it's really not that bad. Here's the motherboard. From what I can tell, it looks like just a normal VLB 486 motherboard. So it looks like I should be able to just power this up on a test bench and make sure it works. I will put some RAM in it first, obviously. Alright, I'm going to continue to take the rest of this apart, take all the drives out so I can get a good image of this hard drive, and then take a look at the other drives in this. I'm going to do that off camera, and I'll get back to you once all this is taken apart. Alright, and just like that, we're left with an empty case, which I'm going to have to clean out, as well as the entire drive cage, the power supply, the IBM branded hard disk that has an AT&T sticker on it, the Panasonic floppy drive, which also has an AT&T sticker on it, and finally the also AT&T stickered tape drive, which makes me believe that all of these things were original to the system when it was first purchased. Here's some info about this tape drive. Anyway, now I'm gonna have to clean all these things, image the drive, and then we'll come back to trying to test the board. Hey, just quickly adding this into the video. I've got the hard drive here. I have it connected to a SCSI terminator. Then the other end of the SCSI cable goes to my capture computer, which has the SCSI card in it. Then we have connected to it as well an external power supply. So when I turn the power to the drive on, I don't know if you can hear that, but it's trying to spin up, it sounds like, and then it's just shutting down. Yeah, so I don't think I'm going to be able to get an image off of this drive, unfortunately. Well, here's the board. It's connected to an ATX power supply using an ATX to AT adapter. Here's our power button. We have no RAM installed. We do have a postcard. 486s should give postcodes. It's fine to boot it up with no RAM. What should happen is we just get a postcode telling us that there's no RAM. And I don't know about you, this is always the scariest part for me. Like, I don't think it's gonna like explode or spark or anything, but like, I'm still kind of worried about it. Anyway, I'm going to flip on the power supply. Nothing happens yet. All I have to do now is press this button. Okay. I don't know if you can actually see the postcode reader on this camera. There's a little screen off to the right side. Anyway, you heard a beep, and now it says 5C6064. Well, it didn't explode, and it's stuck on. Oh, no, now it says 7C. I don't actually know what these postcodes mean. Oh, it beeped, and now it says 8A, 8F. So I don't actually know if this board has onboard RAM, if it's booting, if it's not booting, or what. Anyway, this is a good sign. Next step now is I'm going to plug in the video card it came with, and then we'll cut over to the capture computer and see if we get any output. Just as one final sanity check, I'm going to power it up with the video card attached, but not attached to a screen. Okay, nothing bad happened there. We're getting postcodes again on the screen. You probably can't see it on the camera, but it seems to be the same thing that was happening before. All right, I made a decision. I'm going to put the computer back together, and we're going to try out its built-in power supply and see if that explodes. So, on the case here, we have our keyboard and our mouse ports, but those are connected via this extension cable here. Interestingly, on the motherboard, there are also PS2 ports, but I don't know which one is for the keyboard and which one's for the mouse. And when it's in the case, those ports are kind of hidden. So I'm going to put this back in the case, and we're going to just see what happens. Now we're going to put the power supply in the case. So I opened it up, and other than being a little dirty, it wasn't really that dirty, it was just a little dirty. Other than that, it seemed like it's fine. So I guess I'm not too worried about plugging this in. So this is also held on to this case just by plastic clips. There we go. And so now let's plug in the AT power connector and our power button. Would go to the front of the case, but just for testing, I'll leave it. Okay. A little worried, but I'm ready to just plug it in and turn it on, and hopefully it works. All right, I checked everything. Everything is plugged in. The power supply is plugged in. I'm gonna hit the button, and let's see what happens. Nothing happened, and I heard kind of a weird, like, kind of buzzing-y noise, so maybe this power supply doesn't work. Okay, the AT&T power supply is still in the case, but disconnected. Connected is the ATX power supply, and motherboard's still fine. When we powered it up with the built-in power supply, this light didn't turn on, there was no beep, and I just heard some kind of scary noises from the power supply, so I'm gonna find a way to replace that so I could have everything all integrated, but at least the board still works. So now let's get to putting the rest of it back together, or at least connecting the video card and a keyboard and seeing if we can do anything. All right, here's our system again. Video card in, connected to the capture card. See if we get a picture. Oh, 46xx BIOS, and it's got built-in RAM. That's interesting. Yes, there's no keyboard attached. I guess I can plug in a keyboard. Let's see what happens. Yes, there's no disk drive. Nothing's attached to the system. Here's our, I guess, SCSI BIOS. And I saw a bunch of errors because nothing's attached. All right, let's go get a keyboard. And we got a keyboard attached. And we're going to power it up and see if we can do, I don't know, anything. That's not good. Took the video card out, move it to the other VLB slot, and let's see if it does anything different now. Okay, that's much better. Don't know if there's anything wrong with that slot, or if the card was inserted away, or what. Don't know. But it's working now. Got a keyboard attached. See what happens. Yes, there's no disk drive. There's our, I guess, SCSI BIOS again. Press F1 to continue, or Control Alt Escape, enter setup. Right, Control Alt Escape. Don't know if you could hear that beeping. That's what happens when I press a key on the keyboard. I don't know if I did something wrong. The PS2 port on the case was kind of dirty, so maybe that's why it's not making a good connection, or I don't know. Maybe it doesn't like this keyboard. It's kind of a newer PS2 keyboard. Pressing any of the keys, even like the media keys on this, seem to do that. So either something else is wrong with this system, or it just doesn't like this keyboard. I should have another PS2 keyboard, so I'll try that. All right, time for a silly little interlude. The keyboard I was using, which is is this keyboard. It's a gateway keyboard. It's PS2, but whenever I hit any key on it, it beeped at me. Don't know why. So we're gonna try a slightly older keyboard. This keyboard here, which as you can see is still sealed in plastic. Got it for $5. I don't remember where. And I guess we're just gonna unbox this. This is a slightly older keyboard, so hopefully it won't beep at me like that one does. If it still does, then I guess we got a problem, because, I mean, we need a keyboard to use a computer, right? So, wait, okay, never mind. I don't need the scissors, I don't think. Or do I? All right, opening the plastic. Hopefully this keyboard isn't like super rare and worth a whole bunch of money, and now I'm ruining it by opening it. Yeah, hopefully this keyboard works, because if it doesn't, I don't have another solution. All right, let's open this box. Box is opened. Out comes our new keyboard. Ooh, rest. Pretty standard looking PS2 keyboard. I know this is not as fancy as, like, say, unboxing a Model M or something, but we have just a standard mushy, I don't know, keyboard. Says it's a, hopefully we can see that here in camera. This is a Turbo Track keyboard. It's PS2, and I'm gonna hope that this computer likes it, because otherwise I'm gonna need to well, maybe there's something wrong with this board that's connecting the keyboard to the computer. Maybe the port is just dirty and I didn't clean it out all the way, or somehow I need to like cut holes in the back of the case and use the ports that are on the motherboard, or I don't know, I need to do something. But so we got our keyboard. I'm gonna plug it in to the side of the case here, where it goes. The molding of the cable is kind of hitting the molding on the case, but feels like it's connected. So we're gonna cut back to the capture and we're gonna try it with this keyboard. All right, and we're back with a brand new keyboard, and we're gonna power it on again, and we're gonna see if this one beeps at me. Keyboard error or no keyboard connected. So that's what I was saying about the molding on the connector and on the case. So I don't think it's actually connected. So maybe the first keyboard was fine and there's just something wrong with the plug on the case or something. I don't know. Yeah, pressing keys doesn't do anything because, well, I think it's not connected. Well, I'll have to try to figure out something to do here. We need a keyboard to continue. Okay, so progress. The PS2 ports on the case were attached via a little daughter board. A little daughter board that I was able to pull out of the case and plug the new keyboard that we just opened up into. And well, let's see what happens when we boot up. Control, Alt, Escape. No beeping, no nothing. So I guess it really didn't like that other keyboard. So the solution now is I need to get a new PS2 keyboard that has a does not have a molded connector, so that actually fit into the slot on the case. Sounds really dumb, but now we have a keyboard that actually works. So if I go to configuration here, basic configuration, I could set the time and the date. I'm going to assume the Dallas clock chip is dead. But wait, I didn't change that, did I? Did it change that, or did it already say January 2024 on it? Does the clock chip work? I'm gonna replace it anyway, but okay. Weird. If I go to the next setting, all right. Disk drive supports 2 disk drives. I guess I could put like 2 floppy drives in here if I take out like the tape drive or whatever. Might do that. Don't know. Fixed fixed disks. Probably going to use like a IDE to CF card adapter. The motherboard does have an IDE port, and as I showed you before, the SCSI drive is making some bad noises, so we're not going to do that. We have 4 megs of built-in RAM. I'm going to add some more, maybe. It says no math coprocessor. This is an Intel 486SX, and there's no slot for a coprocessor or anything. So I might upgrade this to like an overdrive or something. That could be fun. So page down to the next page. Communication settings. I guess this is for the built-in serial port. I don't know if you could like see the BIOS screen or something over serial. That would be fun. It makes sense for a system like this being used as a voicemail server. I guess that's it here. What's under advanced? Oh, cool. We can shadow stuff. Shadowing the video BIOS is useful. And if this can't boot off of IDE, then I might use an XT IDE, which would be useful to shadow that as well. System speed high, so I guess this system supports a turbo button. Interesting. Here's all the SCSI stuff, where the SCSI BIOS is. I might turn that off if we don't have any SCSI devices attached, or I might try to plug in a SCSI hard drive or use like a blue SCSI or something. That could be fun. I guess that's it there. Security. Well, not sure what this does. Oh, write protect. Interesting. We can write protect stuff. So I guess if this was being used as like a voicemail server, no one could boot it up and delete stuff or change stuff. Obviously, we'd have a password, so no one could go in and change that setting. That's super interesting. I like that. As you see here, it says COM1 is 25 pin and COM2 is 9 pin. The connectors on the motherboard are slightly different sizes, so you can't mix those up. So those are always signed up. Those are always that way. And there's nothing else there. Physical format's going to yell at me because there's no disks attached. This is not applicable to SCSI disks. I guess the SCSI BIOS that we saw when we booted up would control that. Escape. It's not going to do anything right now because there's no floppy drive or anything connected that it can boot off of. So I guess next I will plug the floppy drive back in and see if I can boot off of a DOS disk. Need to see if I could find a image for the system so I could try to boot the real software, as unfortunately I couldn't get it off of the built-in hard drive. So I hit F1. F1? Okay, there it goes. Okay, it's not going to do anything right now, obviously. I'm going to power it off, connect the floppy drive, and see what we got. All right, I've connected the floppy drive. I have a DOS floppy disk here. It's not inserted yet. I'll insert it once we get to the point where it asks me to hit enter, and then we'll see what happens. Hopefully it'll do a seek test, and hopefully it'll even, read and boot off a disk. That'd be nice. I heard the floppy drive react. Maybe it wasn't the best sound in the whole world, but we'll see if it works. If not, I have plenty of other floppy drives I can use to replace this with. Okay, that's fine. I didn't put the disk in yet. The disk is going in. It's just an MS-DOS boot disk, nothing special. That's not good. All right, let's try to reboot it. This floppy drive could just be dirty, or I might just replace it. It'd be nice to have, AT&T stickered drives and stuff in here, but if I can't, then oh well. Like, it'd be cool to have the AT&T stickered floppy drive, the AT&T stickered power supply, but if those things need to be replaced, they need to be replaced. It's not the end of the world. All right, here we go again. F1, and okay, still nothing. I'm gonna go get another floppy disk drive. All right, I plugged in a different floppy drive. If I need to have a different floppy drive in here, then oh well. I'll obviously keep all the original parts, but if this system has to have different parts, then it has to have different parts. Speaking of which, I'm probably going to upgrade this system. The video card had some spots for extra RAM, so I'm probably going to add some. I'm going to add some more RAM to the system board. I'm probably going to get like a 46 overdrive and stick that in the CPU slot. I'm going to put some type of solid state storage in here. It's gonna make a crazy system. Okay, so this tells me that the floppy controller on this board works. And yes, this isn't MS-DOS, this is PC-DOS. It doesn't matter, I just wanted a disk to see if I can boot off of it. We're not gonna be able to do much here because the only thing attached to this motherboard is a video card and the serial ports. But at least I know this system is completely functional, basically. Just got to see if I could find someone to either repair this power supply or find a new one that fits. For now, we got a working system. Hello, and welcome to the floor for a quick little interlude. Here is the original power supply. This one does not work. So I reached out to a friend of mine and I managed to source a new one. This one here is a Delta DPS 200 BP8. It is the exact same model as the other one, but it's obviously in a different case. This one does not have the little slits on the side that the original one has, because that's how it mounts to the case. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can open up this one, swap out its guts, and put them in this case, so that way the power supply can be mounted into the system. So some of you may have seen some footage that may be a little ridiculous. Don't worry about the wire cutters, and don't worry about the tin snips. What you need to worry about is we have a power supply here. This is the new power supply in the original case, so that way it will mount correctly. Don't worry about the foam here or anything. Don't worry about it. It's a good working power supply in a case that will fit in the case. So let's do that. Just the plastic clips here hold our guy down. Well, if I line it up right, it should. Good as new. You'd never know that wasn't the stock power supply. So now we have to just remove our other power supply. No longer need our ATX to AT adapter, nor our ATX power supply. So now we get to power it up with its original power supply. Yep, totally original. All right, power button. That's a good sign. Fans on. I see the power light on the system on. Assuming the light on the keyboard is on. I can't really see, but all right, let's go back to the capture and make sure our new power supply is good to go. All right, well, let's get our capture going. Powered on our new power supply, and oh, that's not good. All right, let's try again. I took the video card out. I put it back in, and here we go. See if it worked this time. That is better. I've also connected a floppy drive just to really make sure this power supply is good to go. There's our floppy seek test, so that's good. Wonder if our BIOS settings have changed. I haven't bought a new Dallas clock chip replacement yet, because apparently this seems to be able to remember stuff with the one it has in there, so there we go. It's booting off of a floppy disk with our new power supply. So power supply problem solved. We're good to go here. All right, so now for the fun part. We're gonna go ahead and just start putting this back together. In doing that, let's do a few little upgrades. We're gonna reach in here to our big old bag of RAM here, and we're gonna pull out some RAM. Each of these should be 4 megabytes, and they are each 70 nanosecond RAM sticks. To go along with the chips on here, they're also 70 nanosecond. So we just go ahead and install our new RAM. All right, so along with our RAM, I got a couple other upgrades I want to try to put in here. First off, just an Ethernet card. Next we have a sound card. This sound card actually has a modem in it, because I don't think I'm going to put in those original modem cards. So I'm going to put in this. Not that I'm going to be able to use the modem, but just to pay homage to the fact that this was a voicemail system, I'll put in a modem card that is also a sound card. For a hard drive, I don't know if you can see this, but this is a compact flash to IDE adapter. Probably just wind up using this as a hard drive for now, since this does have IDE on it. I might get like a Blue SCSI or something, but I have this. This might just be a bit easier to use right now. And then one thing I find amusing that I want to try is this. This is an FM radio card. Yes, it says for Windows, but it just means Windows 3.1, which, being a 486, this should run Windows 3.1 just fine. So in here we just have this little card, which what this is this is just an FM radio on a card, and then you connect it to your sound card using these cables. One is for the sound to your sound card, and one is for an antenna. Here's everything else in the box. We got some cables and a floppy disk and a manual. There are other types of these cards. Like I have another one of these that actually connects onto your sound card the same way a CD-ROM drive might attach to your sound card. Oh, and I almost forgot. Might as well put in a CD-ROM drive. There are some DOS-46 games that'll work on a CD-ROM drive. This is a bit overkill. This is a CD burner, but I don't have any non-CD burner drives right now, so this will just go in here. Why not? And last but not least, I'm going to put this on the sound card. A Dream Blaster S2. This is a MIDI module. So this would be fun to put on there, and then we'll play some games and see how good they sound. All right, well, let's start putting things back together, and hopefully I have all the screws for it. There. Good as new with our floppy drive. I didn't really try to fix the original floppy drive, so this is just another one. This is actually it's a Samsung drive. It came out of a compact. It works fine. It's just a floppy drive. All right, so the compact flash IDE adapter normally comes on this bracket that goes in the back of the system, but the IDE cable I have can't reach both the CD-ROM drive and that at the same time. So my ingenious solution was to just screw it onto a piece of cardboard. 2 pieces of cardboard, I guess. Either drink coasters. That should be, I don't know, probably fine. I'm just going to mount this in the drive cage and then connect it all up. I mean, it's probably fine. Speaking of drive cage, there we go. We got our floppy and our CD-ROM drive into the drive cage. I'm going to put the mic flash just down there, maybe even mount it to the drive adapter that was already there, and then wire it all up. All right, while I'm getting things all wired up in here, I grabbed a compact flash card, 2 gig compact flash card. I think that's about as big as the hard drive was, and this says Shortel on it, so looks like this was from an IP phone, so it's fitting to put it in our old voicemail system. I'm just going to try to throw all things in here that, I don't know, kind of relate to like phones or stuff like that, right? That makes sense. Here's our progress so far. Our drive cage is mounted up. In case you're wondering, this ground cable came from the SCSI tape drive, and for some reason this CD-ROM drive had a point to connect it to, so I said, screw it, why not? So I added this ground cable for pretty much no reason, but it's in there anyway. I've also put in our sound card, as well as attached the Dream Blaster to it. Attached to the sound card is also the CD-ROM audio cable. Our compact flash card is screwed onto a piece of cardboard and is kind of taped underneath the CD-ROM drive right there. The power button is attached, the floppy drive and CD drive are attached, and all those are all wired up. Okay, here's what we have so far. We got our system sort of put together. Floppy drive, CD drive, taped underneath the CD drive is our compact flash adapter. It's fine, don't worry about it. And we got our sound card here with a Dream Blaster S2 on it, because I don't know why not. Let's just power it on now like this, just to make sure everything works as we have it currently. Okay, so far everything is good, except obviously the BIOS in this thing cannot see the compact flash card. So either the solution is to manually type in things like heads and sectors and all that, or we use this network card. Now, how can a network card help us boot a computer and have it read the hard drive? Well, on the network card here is a ROM socket. So what we do is, in that ROM socket, we put in a ROM chip. This chip on it has the XT Universal BIOS image on it. So when I put it into that ROM socket, when I turn on the computer, this will be mapped into RAM, and then it will boot off of it just like any other BIOS image on the system, and then this will run, detect the hard drive, and everything is good. So we take our chip and we put it in our network card, making sure we line up the notch with the notch on the card, and make sure we didn't bend our pins on our chip too much. On some cards you have to use the software to set it, but on this card we just set our jumpers here to tell it where to put that ROM chip. Usually it's like C1000 or C8000 is a good choice because nothing else is there. So then this goes in our system, and then we can hopefully boot from the compact flash card, or at least see it and then install DOS to it. Okay, so I've been working on trying to get this thing to boot XT so I can use the compact flash card. I was trying to use this here. This is a Etherlink 2, but this ROM socket doesn't support 128K EEPROMs, or I guess 16K EEPROMs. So what I had to do is you have to use a even older style EEPROM, a 2764 EEPROM, which only holds 8K. But for some reason, my programmer doesn't want to write to these. I have different ones. This is a TI one. This is an Intel one. It's supposed to be able to write to these, but I don't know if these chips don't work, these are just too old, or something wrong with my programmer, so we couldn't use this card. So I had to go hunt through my storage to find another card that would work, and I did. This is it says Linksys Ether 16, but as you can see from this yes sticker, This is just a NE2000 clone card. There are a whole bunch of these cards made by all sorts of different companies, but this one does have a ROM socket on it. This one has a ROM socket that does work with a 27128 EEPROM, and this should actually let us boot into XT-IDE on our system here. Besides that problem, also when I've been testing it off camera, sometimes it boots up with like disk errors or memory errors. Generally, it just says press F1 to continue, and then it works fine. But that leads me to believe that maybe there's something actually wrong with the Dallas clock chip on it. So I actually found a replacement one, which I bought a while ago for a different project, but I'm just going to use it here. This is a replacement. This uses a benchmark chip, and it has a replaceable battery in it. So we're going to go ahead and throw this in, throw in our new network card, and then hopefully be able to install DOS onto our compact flash card. Okay, so I was trying to get the sound card here to work, and I don't know why. For some reason, this sound card just doesn't want to make any sound. I don't know if it's a problem with the program using to initialize the sound, Unisound, or if it's with the software that I'm trying to run with the sound card, but for some reason it's not making any sound. So I know this has a modem in it, and it'd be fun to have a card with a modem in it in this, voicemail server. But if I can't get it to work, then I guess I might need to swap it out for just a normal non-modem sound card. I could always throw in like just a normal ISO modem in here if I really want that experience, but it's not like I'm ever going to use it anyway. So instead of this card, I have two other ones here that I need to decide which one of these I want to try to use. Anyway, this is an OptiSound card, and this is a Jazz 16 sound card. I think it's like Wave Jazz, something like that. Both these are pretty similar in specs. They both support the wavetable header. They both have OPL chips on them. So they both should sound more or less the same. I'll pick one of these, and I'll have to throw it in there instead of that sound card. Also got a couple other things as well. I looked around in my storage, and I managed to find this little IDE extension cable, which means that I can take the compact flash card adapter, instead of having it taped under the drive, have it in the back like it would normally be. And then I got a couple of surprises as well. Instead of using this keyboard here, I got on eBay, I found this guy here. Now this might not look like anything special from the top here, but I flip it over. This is an AT&T branded PS2 keyboard. So I think it's appropriate to have an AT&T keyboard with an AT&T system with a connector that will actually fit without me having to do anything crazy. And then, since we're going to be moving the compact flash adapter, I can use that now freed up drive slot to put in a floppy drive. There's no reason to put one of these in here, but I don't know. I do have some games on 5 1/4 inch discs, and it might be fun to just put one in there just for the hell of it. So let's go ahead and make a few changes to the inside of this thing, move some things around, and then let's see what we can do. Also, while we're in there, I'm going to go ahead and add in this radio card. I think I showed this before in the video here. I don't know if this one works in DOS. This one might only work in Windows 3.1. But later on, I guess I could install Windows 3.1. And what this card is basically just a radio tuner on a card. And then the software just tells it to tune to different radio stations. And then you connect it via a pass-through to the sound card. One of these plugs is for the antenna. The other is for the pass-through. Alright, and now this is significantly heavier with all these drives bolted into it, the drive cage here. So I haven't actually tested this 5 1/4 inch drive. I grabbed like 3 of them out of my storage. I don't think I tested any of them. So I guess we're just going to go ahead and just see if this works. I could get a disk, or I can just see if it does like the seek test in the BIOS, and then we'll just move on from there. Alright, I moved some things around, got this thing crammed full of cards now. I think we're ready to try to test it again on the capture. So we've got, see here, our video card, our radio card, our sound card, our Ethernet card, and our compact flash card adapter. Then we've got all of our drives here up front. Everything is all wired up. I just need to start putting a few other pieces back in so I can put the whole case back together, and then we'll have a system ready to try out again. Alright, so it kind of looks like a mess, but that's kind of the problem with these old systems, with these ID connectors and stuff. There's no real like cable management, but everything is plugged in, everything is all wired up. In fact, I'm going to put this back in the case. That is the PS2 keyboard connector and mouse connector. Obviously, it was disconnected because I needed to be able to connect it to my keyboard and mouse. It didn't fit in the case. So now I can go ahead and clip this back in. There's no screws, it's just kind of clipped in. And I think we're good now. Going to go ahead, start the capture again, and see what we got here. Alright, let's go ahead and power it up. Everything's all connected, got our new keyboard. Here we go. Everything should be wired up. With our new sound card, I assume I'm going to have to install some new drivers. I don't know if Unisound's going to work with it, but we'll see what we can do here. Right, pretty sure I have the right floppy disk for the sound card. Also grab the floppy disk for the radio card. Ignore that fixed disk error. It can see both floppy drives, and we're booting off of our card. Our CD-ROM drive is detected, but no sound card is detected, which I assumed that no sound card would be detected because this is meant for plug-and-play sound cards, and this is very much not a plug-and-play sound card. So I'll just go ahead and remove that for now. I'm typing in only E and not edit because this is PC-DOS, and PC-DOS uses E as the editor, not edit. So RAM, F2 to save, 3 to close. I'm going to insert the disk for this sound card, or what I'm pretty sure the disk for this sound card is. I think it's just install. See what this does. Install software. G2K audio. So I guess this came from a Gateway 2000. That's a little interesting. I'll just leave it that way. Or it says Jazz is recommended. So let's use what it says so I don't get confused. I do not have Windows 3.1. We'll install Windows 3.1 soon. Then we'll probably need to use this disk again, or just otherwise set up the driver in Windows. But the radio card, which says for Windows, it claims to also have DOS drivers, so we may not actually need Windows or anything. So obviously this sound card does have an IDE connector on it, which means it supports CD-ROM drives, but we're not going to use it. Our CD-ROM drive is disconnected through the internal IDE port, which works just fine. Now we just gotta wait for this to install off of a floppy disk. If I was smart, I would have copied the files to the compact flash card using a normal computer ahead of time, but I like using floppy disks, so we're gonna use the floppy disk. Here we go. We see that it detected a sound card. We have 220, 5, 1, that all looks good. 330 for the wavetable card. We have the CD-ROM port. Gonna see if I can't disable that. I guess I can't. Wait, jumper 10. So maybe I can just disable the CD-ROM on this card, just because I don't need it to save, just to free up this port. But I guess for now, we'll just leave it. I'll edit the files. That's fine. All right, that looks good. See if our sound card will work. I'm just gonna double check what it did to config sys and AUDIX bat. Then we'll reboot. Okay, so it put its own CD-ROM driver here. That's a little annoying. And it also put itself into the path directive. Okay, hopefully it made a backup. So I can just go ahead and revert this change. But let's see what it did to config sys. Okay, so we have our CD-ROM adapter here, and then it added itself here. This enables the card, and then it enables its IDE controller, and then it enables the CD-ROM drive through it. So I'm going to disable these things and then make sure it uses the CD-ROM, the normal MSCDEX. I mean, I guess I could connect the CD-ROM drive through the sound card, but there's no reason to. So I'm going to go ahead and make all these changes, and then we'll reboot and see what we got. All right, let's go ahead and boot up again with our changes. That way the sound card is enabled, but it's not using its IDE port, and it uses the normal MSCDEX, not the one that came with the sound card. CD-ROM drive loaded. I guess there's nothing. Oh no, Jazz driver loaded there. Cool. So that means the sound card should be loaded. I hope I set up the blaster variable correctly for the settings here. Let's just well, let's first make sure the volume is all set. That's sometimes an issue. What do we have here? Hopefully there's one that we can use to change all of the volumes and stuff. I mean, I guess that's the Jazz mix. Make sure we have the Make sure we have the CD volume turned up so we can play stuff through the CD. Make sure we have line in turned up because that's our radio card. And make sure we have wave turned up so we can use the Green Blaster on here. And then microphone, nothing connected to that. Record source. I guess mic is fine. Hopefully the other one should just pass through. That's what I think they're going to do. So escape. Now I'm going to try to... Oh, let's just try to play a MIDI file first. See what that does. On this floppy disk, I have a MIDI player and a MIDI file. But I make sure I tell it to use the MPU. And no XMS, because I didn't set up memory management yet on here. And then that file is in fact on here. And let's see if it plays. Well, that's not good. I'm going to go ahead and double check the settings, double check the blaster variable, double check everything, and then we'll try this again. Okay, so I might just be a moron, but you can see up here we have our Jazz device driver loaded, and well, let's give it a try here. Gonna run a little game here, you know, a game that has some music in it, and here the music is playing just fine. Turns out A, the radio card was static, line in port, which was then being passed through the card, and B, the little volume knob on the back of the card turned down. So this card, MediaVision Jazz 16, plays just fine, sort of. You can probably hear that only one audio channel is working. I don't know why. I think maybe the card is dirty. I need to clean the connector where the speaker goes, or I need to clean the volume knob. Anyway, I want to try to install the radio card and see if that works, because that's something I haven't actually tried yet. I'm really curious about it. So I think install here is for DOS and setup is for Windows. I'm going to check the manual again, because it said, yeah, install is for DOS and setup is for Windows. Weird, but let's install it. There we go. Okay, I guess we'll go with the default choice here. That's probably fine. Alright, give it a try. So we have three programs here. Not sure exactly what each of them do, but let's fast sw.text. Let's open this up. What is this? Oh, cool. So I could turn it on and off. This is like a TSR. Yeah, this is the TSR you can use to turn the radio on and off. That's cool. All right, let's try it. Cool. All right, so I guess we don't see anything happening, but it will happen, I guess. I don't know what the difference between Radio Man and FM radio is. Let's run FM radio. Let's just run a Radio Man first, see what that does. Oh, that's cool. I like this. All right, radio isn't connected to the sound card. Let's do that. Upper IM, there's a radio station here. WBER 90.5 FM. You can try to tune to that. So 90.5. I don't have the external antenna attached, so that might be something I need to attach. We'll see. I'm having a little bit of trouble with the radio card. It does work, but I guess in my basement, even with the antenna attached, there's just not good reception. So that other program that came with it is just a way to give it commands. Turn it on and off, tune in your favorites, type in any station you want, or change the volume. Okay, so I've gone back to the Opti card, the MediaVision Jazz card. It was getting a little warm, and I could have sworn I was smelling something. I don't know, something's wrong with that card. So this is the Opti card. And this one does work. Here, this card does play, and it plays out of both channels, like it's supposed to. For some reason, with the Dream Blaster on it, when I try to play a MIDI file, you don't hear anything. So I'm just going to ignore that, because I'm probably not going to be playing MIDIs on this anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
And that's the end of the footage that I have. There's no more footage on my camera, and there's no more footage on my capture machine. If I do go back to my storage and get this system out, then I might record another part to this, but there's really not much else I really wanted to record. The AT&T system, I can't find the original voicemail software for it, and it's basically just a normal 486, so there's really not much I can really say about it or really do with it that I didn't record for the video. So, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.